What's going on, everybody? I got Mark back on with me. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing okay. I'm hanging in there.
Sweet.
Yeah.
We're doing this a little late night episode, so forgive us if we sound a little tired, but it's all good. We're going to get it to you. So today we want to talk about maintaining our professional engineering license by earning our professional development hours. So we want to talk about everything to do with PDHs. And sometimes I think engineers don't grasp this when they're earning their license, but maybe they do. But if you are in the civil engineering world, after you get your PE license, you still have to continue your learning even after you receive that license. So
yeah. And what's your experience, Isaac? I mean, for me, it's sometimes that's become a little bit of a burden. To every year you're thinking, oh man, I gotta get some more PDHs under my belt so I can renew my license. Sometimes it's a little bit of a burden.
Yeah, I agree, because a lot of times you're putting it off or you're not thinking about it. It's not top of mind. And then what happens is typically when they're due, then everybody rushes to try to fill in the gaps or figure out what they have to make sure you keep your license going. So
yeah.
It's definitely worth talking about, something we want to touch on today. I guess one of the things we want to mention, though, as we get started is that like every state has different requirements for how many PDHs that you actually need. So we're actually in the state of Utah. So how many do we need here, Mark?
Well, we renew every 2 years, and we have to have 30 credit hours for every 2 years. So if you split those up, obviously we need about 15 per year. And so you think about, maybe trying to squeeze in an hour of PDH time every month, you still wouldn't have enough to get the job done. So I always try to keep that in the back of my mind as I'm going along, that, man, I at least got to get one a month just to kind of keep pace. And then I always have a few fillers at the end of the year, but that's what I always try to think about.
You're better at keeping track of that than I am. I'm one of those kind of last minute rush to get it all. But so we're in Utah. We need those 30 credit hours every 2 years. Do you know what other states require at all?
Well, I know I'm licensed in several other states, and some require 20, others 25. And I'm saying this in terms of every couple years for the renewal period. And most of them let you carry over. If you've got extra PDH hours, they'll actually let you carry those over into a following year if you've got extra. So, which is nice because, you're not wasting time where you get, say, for whatever reason, you get 33, PDHs. You can carry over those 3 years into the next term. Which is nice.
Yeah, that is nice. So the key, though, is that because every state is different, you need to check out your own state's Division of Professional Licensing, find out what the requirements are for your own state, and that's what you have to do. Now, if you're licensed like Mark is in other states, then you have to follow all those different states' requirements. So
yeah, and it's tough. And some of the states are a little bit more lenient with some things. Like I get credit to, like, Idaho is really good about giving you PDHs for affiliations in professional associations. So I'm professionally associated with ACI, with ASCE, and I automatically get PDH hours just for being a member of those organizations, which is nice. So you look at, when you're looking at your state's requirements, if you happen to be members of different professional organizations, sometimes that can help too, just being a member.
Yeah, that's a good advice. So as we dive into like where you can get PDHs, let's first talk about like the benefit of a live course or webinar or place where you're going as a live event for instruction or online. Maybe what are your thoughts on those two? Some states require or limit the amount of online PDHs you can get, but what do you think of the benefits between the two, and talk about that?
Well, my professional opinion is you audit your first option should be to go to live events. And the reason I say that is because live events, I think you get more out of a live event. And live events have a secondary benefit too. It helps you network with your colleagues in the industry. I get more out of live events because I can refresh my relationships that I've got with other professionals in the industry. You know, guys that maybe I haven't seen for a few years, guys that I've worked on with other projects. You know, 5 years ago, and I haven't seen the guy in a while. And man, he shows up to the same PDH, seminar, whatever that happens to be, and I can get my relationship, I guess, renewed with that person. So I would advise that I think you get more out of a live event. It's just I think you're a little more engaged. I know with online events, you can learn things and they can be instructive, but at least for me, you tend to, at least my attention wanes a little bit earlier on an online event versus when I'm at a live event and I'm rubbing shoulders with other industry professionals, and it's a little more of an active environment for me.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
so that's
And
what I would recommend.
I hope everybody that's listening to this is hearing that advice, that a huge component of going to a live event is networking. And so
Yes.
if you're ever looking for an upgrade in your career, or you've lost a job for whatever reason, having those connections is a huge piece of going to a live event, as people get to know
Well,
you.
and not only that, in my job where I'm trying to build teams, and sometimes when I'm actively pursuing projects, it makes that easier for me because I've gotten to know individuals over the years, and I've re-upped my relationship with them
Yeah,
every time I see them at these events. And so when it's crunch time and I'm trying to put a design build team together, I know the guys I got to call, and they know me, and there's a level of comfort there, because
that's
you've seen
awesome.
them. Yeah.
That's great. So, okay, so that's live courses. We've touched a little bit on online courses, kind of the benefits between those two. I would say typically what most engineers do is that they attend live as much as possible and fill in the gaps with online courses where it makes sense to. Um, these things cost money though, right?
They do. They
And
do.
so talk about what your employer does, typically what your employer does, and trying to get all these credits under your belt.
Yeah, in my experience, all my employers have they've valued, having a credentialed PE personnel on their staff, right? And then they understand what it takes to maintain that license for that credentialed professional, right? And so they've always been willing to pay for those professional development hours. But I know that's not the case everywhere, right, Isaac?
Yeah, so I work for a utility, and typically, well, at least for a utility, it's not required for the utility to have. I mean, it's always a benefit to have your license because that's typically what's on the application and resumes, and they want people with PEs. But because they are a utility, a lot of utilities, at least the one I work for, they're not required to stamp their own drawings because they own the asset. They own what they're building.
Yeah.
If we hire anything out, if we go to a contractor, we make them stamp everything.
Right.
And so, but I think every civil engineer should get their PE license. But you can see that depending on where you work, some value those things a lot more than others. And so trying to get your employer to maybe pay for things sometimes can be a struggle depending on where you are. But I would say in general for civil engineers, everybody wants you to keep your license and is
Yeah.
willing to help pay for that.
Yeah.
So, and I think even at a utility like where I'm at, you can make a strong case for that, and they will help you to get those PDHs. So
Okay.
that's good. Anything else you want to touch on that?
Well, just I would say we just check with your manager. Obviously, if you're new to an organization, you just got hired, and you're worried about that, get that cleared up with your manager. I mean, they'll tell you the policy. Usually, it's a tax deductible expense for a company as well,
Okay.
and so that's another little incentive that they have to to pay for those things for you. So it's usually not a problem. But if you're worried about it, you can always check.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're interviewing, you can ask, depending, wherever you are in your stage of your career, make sure you're asking those things. Um, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd add to that is as you're getting PDHs, you're required to keep track of them, whether that's a certificate that they give you. The NCEES also has a free tool. So if you've taken the FE or the PE, you've got a free tool there that you can get in there and track your own PDHs.
Yeah, which can be nice in the event of an audit.
Ooh,
Have you ever heard of those nasty things?
of course.
Yeah,
I've never experienced one. Have you ever had one?
No, I haven't, but I have heard of individuals that have gone through that, and it's not fun if you don't have all your certificates and a record of all your PDHs. They can be rough on you. So yeah, that's another little piece of advice is make sure that you've kept all your certificates, whatever record has been given to you of completing whatever course that you've taken. Make sure you're saving that so that in case an audit comes up, you're covered.
Yep. So good points, good tips. I guess lastly, we kind of emphasized this earlier, but attending trying to attend live PDHs typically are offered by different organizations. So you touched upon some that you have attended, but it sounds like there's a lot more that
There's
you could reach.
Yeah, there's a lot out there. Like I'm typically going to all the ACI events. So we've got a local chapter of ACI called the Intermountain chapter, and they're a pretty active group, and they put on a seminar every month, and they bring in, some really interesting presentations that I've enjoyed over the years. But I usually try to hit that one every time because it's pertinent to my industry that I'm in, and again, I get a network and learn a lot of things. But your DOTs offer a lot of opportunities to get PDHs. I know UDOT here locally offers every October. They have a big convention that they put on, and local vendors and stuff get together, but they also put on a ton of courses that are more transportation engineering oriented, but they're always good events. But ASCE always puts on local events, and they're obviously a big national organization, so they've got local events everywhere. AISC is a good source. I've gotten to a lot of PTI events, post-tensioning institute events, PMI, Isaac.
That's project management.
Yeah.
So the PMI certificate's kind of a big deal if you're in the PM kind of world, and it's I know it's been geared a lot towards the net computer kind of networking industry, but now that certificate seems to be kind of a growing industry similar to the PE, in that they want as many people as possible to become a professional, a PMI in the PM world.
Yeah,
so
that's becoming more and more of a valued credential, isn't it?
Yeah.
PMI.
And they require PDHs if you get that as well. And, they kind of cross pollinate between getting them for your PE and for PMI. So,
Right.
yeah, I I think everybody can look up where your local chapters are for each of these, and you can find those in your own state and
Yeah.
figure those things out.
Another source is if you're into maybe more of the construction engineering is AGC. Every local chapter of AGC offers courses as well. So
Sweet. So good. We've touched upon what to do for your life stuff. We talked about audits. We've talked about our thoughts on that stuff. Let's dive now into kind of some online resources that people could go. And like we said earlier, we feel like, these could fill in the gaps. Some states, like I say, put the brakes on how many hours you can get online. So you'll have to research that yourself in your own individual state. But some states don't care, and you could get all your credits online. So just kind of depends where you're at. But I wanted to list some websites I found that were helpful for those PDHs, and you can go check those out if you need them. So the first one that I kind of listed was a site I've used before. It's called PDHDirect.com. The nice thing about these kind of sites is that you can pay a one-time fee. Like they're right now they're charging $199, but they give you an unlimited option. So you can go in there and take as many courses as you want. They give you a full year of access to try to earn those, and you can take those anytime you want. And it applies on their website. They apply to all 50 states. So, go check them out if that's a source for you. Mark, why don't you dive into the ASCE? What do you think about that?
So I'm a member of ASCE, so I'm a dues paying member. And the primary reason for that actually is to get PDHs, to get access to PDHs. And so ASCE has, I would say, their courses, there's kind of a higher end course, and I would say a middle grade course, and probably a lower grade course. There's kind of a range of offerings there. And just as if you renew your membership with ASCE every year, they offer 10 free PDHs. But I would say that those free PDHs that they offer are probably the lower end type courses. It's not maybe the industry specific type courses that you might be looking for. It's more of the broad topics that they offer with those 10 free ones. So just kind of an FYI there that the free ones aren't maybe something that you might be specifically interested in. They're pretty broad. I mean, they deal with, I don't know, project management, and I did one on rebar inspection, and just some, I don't know, I would consider those, very broad, less specific kind of topics, and that may be a little bit of a surprise to you,
Yeah,
being ASCE.
But they offer, I'm sure, more specific courses if you want to dive into it. So if you are a member, they probably give you a discount to those, and if you're not, they're a lot more.
Yeah, it's usually about $100 discount for every course if you are an ASCE member. So they are cheaper, but that is one good thing about being a member of ASCE. I mean, you can drill down into like some really specific topics that I mean, on whatever subject you're talking about, geotechnical. I mean, structural. I mean, they get down into the nitty gritty stuff like connection design, and they offer stuff. You can get down into the bolts for concrete. They don't just stay at like the 30,000 foot level and just say, well, we're going to talk about mix design. They'll actually get into courses that actually talk about the chemistry of mix design. You can really drill down into some specifics with the courses that they offer. So in that regard, it's good, but those aren't any of the free ones that they're offering.
Yeah, that's more the 200 course.
Exactly.
You're going to pay for that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Another good option, or at least a very popular option, is a site called RedVector, RedVector.com, and they have a ton of courses. I think most engineers end up finding them. They're a very large company. but their price ranges vary all over the place depending on the amount of credit hours that you're looking at. They have recently, it looks like, unleashed a unlimited option if you're looking for an option to get unlimited hours, probably in competition with some of these other sites that offer unlimited hours. But they also do one-offs where they sell these individual courses, and their prices range all over the place. So similar to other sites where it's like $200 to $300 plus. So depending on what you want to do. And I've noticed just, cruising around their website that they also get a little more specific in the course offering that they have there. So it might be a good option if maybe you're not a member of ASCE to go check out RedVector. You have any experience with RedVector?
I have a little bit of experience with RedVector. They offer some good courses. I've usually gone to those guys as, my fill-in. I'm scrambling. Maybe I got a week or two before my renewal on my P license is due, and oh man, I'm missing a couple PDHs. They're my resource for those kind of things. I can squeeze a few quick courses in with those guys.
Excellent. Okay. I guess some of these last ones we listed are just some other ones we kind of picked up and found. I don't know if they're the most popular, but they're a cheaper option. One of them is called PDHlibrary.com, and you can go check them out. They sell individual courses. They're probably a little more broad in what they're offering, but if you're looking for cheaper courses, they might be worth checking out. And their prices range basically between $20 and $50, depending on how many credit hours they're offering and the type of course it is. So that's another one you can go check out. And lastly, another one we kind of discovered was one called civilpdh.com. They've basically tailored their entire website to specifically civil engineering courses. Although they can work for all disciplines, but they are basically for civil engineers. So they've listed their site as something that is efficient and cost effective, and they are definitely cost effective. They are priced at $10 per credit hour. So if you're looking for cheaper options, those are out there. If you're looking for more expensive options, those are out there. I just think there's a lot of options for you if you're looking for an online PDH course. So
yeah, there's a ton of them.
All right. So what I'm thinking is we've kind of hit everything about live. We've hit everything about online stuff. The whole point of getting these things done is, I guess, what is the whole point, Mark, of getting your PDHs? Why is the state requiring this?
It's so you are keeping up on the latest and greatest information in your craft in civil engineering. Things are changing all the time. New products, new innovative ways of building things, or new processes that you need to be getting exposed to those things so that you're current and you're on top of your game. That's the reason for it. And you can use that to your advantage. I mean, you can, I don't know. I've had years where PDHs are, like I say, a real burden, but I've also had years where I've tried to structure my PDH pursuits into areas that I'm very interested in, or areas of engineering that I want to learn more about. And when I structure them like that, it's interesting to me, and it's not a burden, right? It's kind of like, oh, cool, I get to learn about this new process or this new product or whatever. And so I would just say that's the goal, is so that you're constantly learning and being on top of your game, but make it interesting to you. Enroll in those courses and in those subjects that you want to learn more about and that are interesting to you, and then it won't be a burden. It'll be fun.
I agree. I think if you can find stuff that you're interested in, or at least are applicable to what you're doing in your industry, I think that'll help you kind of get through that every year, or explore something you haven't seen in a while if you've been at it for many, many years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I really like your point that networking is a huge piece of this. So I know LinkedIn is kind of the online networking platform, but seeing people in person goes a long way as well. And so hopefully this whole discussion about PDHs has gotten everybody thinking about them, or at least educated you a little bit on them if you don't know anything about them. And if you haven't earned them, you're probably now thinking, crap, I got to go get some PDHs. So
yeah, I got to get going.
You're at some stage somewhere in that spectrum. So
yeah.
Cool. Is there anything else you want to add to this one, Mark?
No, just I don't know. Make sure you're pacing yourself as you're getting your PDHs so they don't all pile up on top of you at once. And Isaac emphasized this again, but I would say it again. Use them for networking opportunities. I think that's a big deal. Face-to-face contact with individuals it's way better than the LinkedIn connections that you've got. It's just
a little message.
Yeah, it's way better. And so
okay,
that'd be my advice.
Well, thanks for your tips. Hopefully we shared some valuable knowledge with everybody out there. And yeah, I think it was a good one. So thanks for jumping on again with me, Mark. We'll see you
on
another one.
Okay.
See ya.
See ya.